Hi everyone and welcome to our next video. In the last video we looked at a set reset latch. In other words, an SR latch with an enable bit, and with a single output we could control and get a latched output. If the single input is low, then the output is low. If this is a high, then this is a high. We're going to see how that compares to something new that we haven't looked at before, and that's called the D-latch. And when you look in Circuitverse and you go to sequential elements, you're going to find the D-latch here. This is a D-latch with a clock input. So what we can do is we can actually have the output determined depending upon a clock signal or a clock edge. And we can see that in this image here. If this is our input to the D-latch, and as you can see, it's high, it's low. And if we use a clock input, here's the way it works. When the rising edge of the clock goes up, then at that point it looks at what the input on the D-latch is, and as you can see right here, it's a high. So what it does is it produces a high output. And it stays there until the next rising clock edge. So again, it looks at this point here and it says, at that point, the input is high. So it stays high on the output. We look at the next rising edge of the clock. We take a look here, and this is it. Right at this point, it looks at the input and says, the input is now low, so the output is going to go low. Again, we look at the next rising edge of the clock. It says the input to the D-latch is low, so it is going to stay low. So digital logic works very well when we have a clock signal, or it's important when we use a clock in order to synchronize things. So this is a D-latch with a clock, and you're going to see it behaves very similar to the SR latch, but we have this input clock here. And so that when it is high, so in this case here, and we change the input, you can say the output changes. So although this isn't a true clock signal, we've just tied it high. You can see that it's only changing when we have a rising edge of the clock, if you will. That's what this is simulating. If we don't have that rising edge, if it's a low, then we can change the input all we want, and we're not changing the output in any way. So that is your first look at a D-latch with a clock input. That's it for this video. We'll talk to you